'Cause I'm taking the world, you'll see. They'll be calling me, calling me. They'll be calling me royalty. Best to give me loyalty. 'Cause I'm taking the world, you'll see. They'll be calling me, calling me. They'll be calling me royalty.
Hello guys, so today I'm talking about I guess Marvel Phase 4 and how it was basically awful, and it's just, you know, put Marvel in a terrible place right now where DC has potential to be better than Marvel. But yeah, I'm just mainly going to talk about each thing that actually came out in Phase 4 and not the things that didn't actually come out and got delayed into Phase 5. So yeah, I guess I don't know what I'm gonna start with. Can I start with Black Widow? But yeah, Black Widow, I mean, oh man, it was average, really. It was average, but it was okay. It's just, you could start to see a lot of flaws from here, but I was still going in cinemas and watching these movies. It wasn't until Doctor Strange, like when that came out, where I was like, oh wait, yeah, Marvel's yeah, they're going downhill. But from Black Widow, I was still invested into Marvel. But yeah, there were signs that, you know, things were starting to have a lot of flaws. Just, I don't know, just a lot of problems with that movie that a lot of people don't like. And making Taskmaster a female instead of a male, I mean, they completely changed the character as well, so to me that's the biggest problem, not just because they just randomly made Taskmaster a female. But it had a completely different story to what Taskmaster's supposed to be. I mean, in the future they could give us the real Taskmaster, but yeah, the one that we actually got was a letdown. I mean, there was a lot of characters that was a letdown in that movie. I mean, I enjoyed Yelena, but sometimes she's a bit too comedic, so you can't always take her seriously compared to Black Widow, like in her previous movies, and why they made us care about her so much. And I mainly watched this because it was her final movie. But all I can say is that I wish it could have been better, but it's not as bad as people say, in my opinion, but I wouldn't say it's great either. But I don't know if I should give it a tick or not. Well, if I say A, that means it's just average. Alright, so that just stands for average anyway. But yeah, great, it'd get a G. So Shang-Chi. Alright, so when I first watched this, I probably would say this is a great movie, but the second time, I got so bored. Like, after you get through the first half of this, you know, the second act, everything just goes downhill, like, from there. Like, they just completely lost their momentum watching it the second time. And the second time I was watching it with my brother, so I kind of felt it even more, because even he couldn't even get through the movie, and that was his first time watching it, because he was watching it on Disney+. Because the first time I watched it in cinemas, and maybe that's why I enjoyed it a bit more, and just looked over its flaws. Because, you know, the first act and half of the second act were just, it was great, man. I loved it. But then once you get to like the second part of the second act, yeah, the movie just drops so much. It goes downhill. And then that third act, oh my god, terrible CGI and stuff. Like, that's where you started to notice that the CGI was going downhill. And I forgot to mark Shang-Chi of what I'm talking about. Yeah. I mean, I definitely liked, you know, what he was doing at first with how it was setting up the movie, but then, yeah, what it did with the storyline, it didn't entertain me. It was cool to see the real Mandarin instead of that fake Mandarin, which they actually bring him back as some comedic character. I was like, whatever. I mean, he's funny, so whatever. Because at least we got the real Mandarin, but then they find a way to mess him up at the very end in the third act, making him a dumbass, not realizing that he's releasing evil. Because his whole story is to bring back his wife, but, you know, he doesn't really achieve that, and he ends up nearly making the world suffer for it. and then he dies in the end and all that. Yeah, whatever. So, what would I rate this movie? Oh, I don't even know, because watched it for the second time, I couldn't finish it, so I don't know. If I give it a cross, it's a fail, so I can't see myself ever watching Shang-Chi again. Black Widow, even though it has a lot of flaws, I could see myself watching that again, but Shang-Chi, and then we come to Eternals, the one that majority of people dislike. For me, I actually liked it. I'd actually watch this again too. I mean, it's nothing brilliant, so I'm already going to say it's average. I mean, it tries to be different from the other movies, but then it kind of doesn't feel like a Marvel movie. And if it wasn't tied to Marvel, maybe this movie would have worked better. But since it is, and it doesn't even do anything for the story of Phase 4, because the biggest problem with Phase 4 is that everything's not really connected, even though it should be. Like, everything feels closed off. Because some of the things that happen in Eternals, Spider-Man, and Loki, they should have like a huge connection. Especially by the time you get to Multiverse of Madness, but you don't really get any payoff and everything just feels separate, even though these huge things to the universe are happening. You don't really see anything colliding with the stories. You just hear like name mentions and that's basically it. Wherein, if that was Phase 3, oh my god, the things that would be happening with it connecting. But no. I mean, I liked the Eternal characters. There were some that didn't really get as much screen time. But yeah, and I kind of wish we had a different main character that I focused on. Yeah. But I still enjoyed it. It's nothing amazing. It's pretty average. And I don't think it's bad anyway, so yeah. So, Spider-Man. The best movie in Phase 4. Easily. And to think and that came from Sony as well, which is, it's weird to think about, yeah. Like, this movie was like a dream come true, man. Getting to see Tobey again, Tobey Spider-Man, Andrew Garfield Spider-Man, and made him even better than he ever was in his own movies. I mean, I liked Amazing Spider-Man 1. Amazing Spider-Man 2 was like, to this day, still the worst Spider-Man film. But I could see that he had potential to actually be the best live-action Spider-Man, and we actually got to see it in Spider-Man No Way Home, and oh my god, he impressed me so much. And it seems like Tobey Maguire's not going to come back for Spider-Man 4, so the best next thing to do is get Amazing Spider-Man 3, and Andrew returns, and you know, he basically becomes the best live-action Spider-Man if they do him right this time. He has a good script, just like he did in No Way Home, because just with only like an hour or less, he was able to possibly give us the best Spider-Man we've seen in live action. I mean, we've got some great stuff with Tom Holland, with, you know, his character's journey. But man, just Andrew Garfield just acting in No Way Home is amazing. Yeah. So I do hope we get to see more from him one last time, just so they can end things better for Andrew Garfield. Because it seems like Tom Holland's going to be ending soon, so maybe we could get 2 movies, at least 1, but 2 out of Andrew Garfield. And you know, Tobey doesn't want to come back, so yeah, since that's got cancelled again, Spider-Man 4. But yeah, I love this movie. Even though it was kind of using a lot of nostalgia to be good, it still had a great story, some impactful moments. Like, they nailed everything with No Way Home. It could have just been like a nostalgia kind of thing, but they was able to make it work with the story, and it's still the best movie in you know, the flipping Phase 4 of Marvel. So it gets a tick and a P for perfect. And this is probably going to be the only thing that gets this. So, Multiverse of Madness, the movie that made me quit Marvel. Yeah. So I'm going to give it like a D for disappointing, because this let me down so much. And it kind of affected my favourite show from Phase 4, WandaVision, because that was a really good show, which I'll get to. And I'm not really going to talk about these, because these are not in Phase 4. Like, these are being pushed to Phase 5. Yeah, so I'll just get rid of all that. Yeah, this was the movie that made me want to quit Marvel. Yeah, like, it let me down so much. They ruined Wanda's character. I mean, Doctor Strange already had a lot of flaws, even in Spider-Man, even though I love that movie. Doctor Strange, he was an idiot. He's been an idiot for so long, man. Like, I can't really think where he started to make all the big problems. I mean, probably the thing he did the best was helping, you know, defeat Thanos. But since then, he's been a complete idiot. He's actually made the threats. Yeah, because in Spider-Man, he's the one who helps Tom Holland's Spider-Man try to erase his memory, but then he messes up the spell. I mean, it's the equal blame is with Peter, but the one who actually does the spell is Doctor Strange, so he kind of causes the whole problem of No Way Home. Yeah. So to me, it's mainly on him. And then in Multiverse of Madness, he's trying to stop, I guess, America Chavez from, I guess, getting harmed. So he kind of goes to Wanda for help, but then she ends up becoming the biggest threat in the whole movie. And yeah, so he really kind of made, you know, America Chavez getting even more danger by going to Wanda, which was just a huge mistake. I mean, he should have found out what Wanda did, and to know that going to her was a huge mistake. And just the story that they give her is completely stupid. Like, really? Why don't you just try find someone who you can love like you did with Vision and have kids with them, instead of trying to find these kids in like a different multiverse? Like, I don't know, I know that she doesn't really have anyone right now, and she's, I guess, super depressed, and just the way how they handled her character in Multiverse of Madness, just making her full evil, I didn't like it, man. It was a bit too much, and it kind of ruins the point of WandaVision, even though, like, that last episode was a bit, like, oh my god, you could have ended it better than that. Especially with that line, oh my god, like, they won't know what you did, what you sacrificed. Like, bruh, you was mind controlling them for the whole flipping series. What are you talking about? What? So you deserve happiness, but then they get brainwashed to make you happy? Like, Jesus, man, that was just dumb. Yeah. But I definitely enjoyed the show. It's just that last episode, oh god, trying to make Wanda look like she's in a good light instead of accepting what she's done and trying to move forward. But then, you know, this movie comes and just destroys all her character development and the point of WandaVision. Yeah, just making her full evil, just killing people. Like, my god, going through that lengths just to find her boys and take them from another version of her. Like, my god, to the point where she's gonna kill herself and take away these kids' mother. Like, oh my god. And that's when she realizes she goes a bit too far, because they try to explain that it was this book that was basically possessing her to go this far. But I don't like that idea, because it just messes up her whole character. It makes WandaVision pointless. Yeah, and it's just seeing Doctor Strange be so weak. Yeah. I mean, he eventually gets to possess himself from a dead version of himself that Wanda kills. Or was it like some... Was it Wanda that killed him? Or was it some other monster? I can't remember. But yeah. And what to do with the cameos, like with Reed Richards and the smartest man alive being the dumbest man alive, telling Black Bolt's weakness. So Wanda just basically shuts his mouth because that was his biggest power. Yeah. Just a lot of dumb stuff in this movie. And possibly, you know, Wanda dying in not really a satisfying way, but they'll probably bring her back. But yeah, I hated this movie. It gets crass, disappointing, and a cross. I mean, when I first watched it, I tried to say that I liked it, but then as time went on, I was like, oh, nah. And the CGI with the eye, like, that's the worst CGI I've ever seen in a movie, man. And it's coming from Marvel, man. And then Fall of Thunder, I don't even know if I can really talk about this properly because I didn't actually watch it. Because some of the trailers, I could tell how bad it was going to be. And then I saw some of the scenes online. I'm just like, oh, I'm so happy I didn't fully watch this movie. I mean, I'm just giving it a cross anyway. Because like, I can tell I would have hated this movie. It seems like they kill a lot of characters in this movie too. Like Valkyrie and I don't know if Korg dies, but I think I heard he dies. And they even killed the person who supposedly was going to take over for, because there's been a pattern where they're kind of making all the male characters in the MCU female. Like, we've got Ironheart, she's replacing Iron Man. Yeah. The only thing I haven't done yet is Captain America, even on in a way they've kind of done it with Peggy, but not really, because she got killed straight away in Doctor Strange 2. So I mean, if that even counts as the same version from What If, but yeah. But yeah, just majority of the characters like Hawkeye, you got Hawkgirl now. Like a lot of these characters are going to be replaced by females, and just what they're doing, man, it's ridiculous. Trying to push a message, basically, yeah. And yeah, this movie just looks terrible. I mean, the only thing I can say, like, I'm surprised is that they actually killed off Jane Foster's Thor. Like, I thought she was going to replace, you know, Thor, but to me, they should have just did that, because it seems like Chris Hemsworth might be done with Thor soon. And I might make a separate video on that, like with him not really being happy with the director of Love and Thunder, which, you know, I'll talk about that in another video. As for Black Panther 2, the movie that kind of finished off the phase, I mean, I should have left this for last. I mean, I could, but I'm just talking about it now. It was, and I didn't really have much hope for this movie. I was even planning to watch it. But yeah, I'll just say it's average. It has very small good moments, but mostly depressing for obvious reasons, but then actually adding in another death in the movie, because, you know, Chadwick Boseman, you know, passed away, which, you know, rest in peace. And I knew that was going to be a big theme in the movie, but then I had like another death to even make it more depressing, but a fictional death, obviously, with, you know, the mother. Like, my god. And then there's a lot of boring talking scenes as well. And then there's like brief moments where, you know, at least something fun is happening, but then it just goes back to being depressing or just a lot of talking. Like, who wants this for a flipping Black Panther sequel? Because the first movie felt like a celebration compared to this. Of, you know, actually having a movie like this in the MCU. Like, just having a black superhero to look up to, and then just everything we've got afterwards. And it just sucks what happened to Chadwick Boseman, because if he was here, I just wonder if things would have been different with this movie. I mean, we're still living in a terrible generation, and I just don't know if it still would have got affected anyway. But yeah. Because I knew they kind of changed a lot of the script, but then they tried to keep some of the script, and it ended up being a messy movie. So I'm just going to give it an average. I don't think I'd ever watch this again. Probably not. But I'm not going to give it a cross, because it's just average, really. I mean, I liked some stuff with Namor, but could have been written better. I mean, they tried to rewrite the whole story because of what happened to Chadwick Boseman, so it was already a hard task. And to me, I feel like this movie should have got cancelled when Chadwick Boseman passed away, instead of trying to replace him with a character who didn't even deserve to be the Black Panther, Shuri. It should have been like his wife instead, or, you know, just another character who actually had the skills and, you know, could actually hold the mantle as the Black Panther, like Okoye. Like, she would have been the perfect choice, but I guess they didn't really go with it. But yeah, that's my thoughts with this movie anyway. WandaVision. So when I first watched it, I mean, I'm just gonna give it a great anyway, because I actually did enjoy WandaVision. It's just when you look back at the story, it kind of gets destroyed by, you know, Doctor Strange 2, because throughout the whole show, she's basically controlling people to make herself happy because of all the stuff she's lost, like her brother, the love of her life, and the way how she copes with it is by controlling the whole town. And we're just seeing her like go through like these weird kind of TV show, you know, situations where she's like in a 50s TV show, a 60s TV show, while hinting like that something's kind of wrong. And just all the references they make to all these classic TV shows like Malcolm in the Middle and stuff. Like, man. I just really enjoyed it with how they made the TV show. It was really unique for Marvel. And it kind of had like a... I can't remember, what's the movie called again? That Jim Carrey movie that kind of started all of this, really. With having like a happy kind of town, but then there's actually something behind it, and how it's not really real. Yeah, that kind of thing. But yeah, I just really enjoyed the show, but I mean, by the end, they kind of messed it up with what they decided to do, with making it look like Wanda was in the right with what she did. Well, not fully, because she has like some type of acceptance for what she did, but then to an other degree that they're making it look like she was in the right to do what she did. I mean, she had this family and she was sacrificing it just so she wasn't controlling people, and you're not going to view her as the villain for that. Like, are you serious? Yeah. So that's kind of the flaw at the end, but everything else, I really enjoyed it, man. Yeah, it was really enjoyable. So give it a tick. It's just that, you know, the ending of the show and Doctor Strange 2 kind of ruins it a bit. I mean, the ending, like, it wasn't too bad, but then when you get to Doctor Strange 2, they just destroy that whole character development. But yeah. Alright, so Falcon and the Winter Soldier. When I first watched it, I'd say it's great. Looking back, average, and just the message they was trying to do in this is terrible. Like, that basically saying that the terrorists were the good guys and the government are the bad guys, to a degree, I guess, but come on, they're terrorists. Like, are you serious? Making them the good guys and just making the Winter Soldier so weak compared to how he used to be. Just a lot of problems with this show, and I can't see myself rewatching this because there are some boring moments as well. I mean, there are some important moments for the story, but there's a lot of boring moments. Yeah. They get some cool stuff from Zemos and stuff, and Falcon, and I guess somewhat with Winter Soldier with his story of trying to make amends from all the bad stuff he ever did. But yeah, I don't think I'd ever rewatch this, so it's average, and it gets across as well, because I can't see myself ever rewatching this. And Loki, probably the thing that people love the most out of Phase 4, but for me, it's one of the worst, if not the worst. Nah, it's not the worst, because of, you know, She-Hulk. Like, if She-Hulk didn't exist, I'd probably say, like, Loki's probably the worst thing they've made in the whole MCU. But since She-Hulk exists, man. Yeah, that show's terrible. It literally insults the fans, it insults YouTubers, it insults everyone who criticizes their show, basically, but we'll get to that. As for Loki, this was just, like, the most boring thing I've ever watched in my whole life. The amount of times I tried to watch one episode and fell asleep multiple times, like, oh my god, it was so boring. Like, it wasn't interesting at all. I mean, it had a good premise, but they failed so hard to execute it, man. Like, so hard. My god. So, you know, definitely a cross anyway. I mean, I forgot to do it on here, yeah. Like, you know, it gets an F, so like a fail, basically. I mean, I don't even know if you can see that, but yeah. I mean, and Loki didn't even really feel like Loki, in my opinion. To some degree it did, but mostly it didn't feel like the Loki that we knew and loved. And yeah, I feel like in episode 5 was probably the best episode in the whole show, with how we got to see the real Loki, the one who was actually powerful and stuff, and he actually goes like a champ. But then just everything else, like, there's one character that I like in this. Like, he was cool because he was the one who was trying to help Loki, even though at first he was against him. But then he realizes what they was trying to do. There's just a lot of story points that I just don't like, and the things to do with Khan, yeah, and how the Lady Loki is the one who kind of starts the whole situation of things going out of control, even though it doesn't really connect to No Way Home like it was supposed to, because they don't really mention it or anything. It seems like it's Doctor Strange's fault. I don't know. They've done a bad job at explaining like those kind of things and how they're not even connected. Like with Eternals and the Celestials and shit, man. Like, what the hell, man? How are all these things are not connected and like they're their own thing, man? It's just stupid. But yeah, just the whole story for Loki is just disappointing. It could have been so good if how they could have did it. But yeah. Alright, so what if? So, average, but I'll give it a tick. Even though there were some episodes that was just like boring, but then there was episodes where I was like, interesting. This show could have been a bit better though. Yeah. Like, I like the Marvel Zombies episode. I like the one with Chadwick Boseman as Star-Lord. Like, that was enjoyable, even though there's like one thing that was cringe. Probably probably one of my least favorite episodes is the one with Doctor Strange, but the dark one that we see in Doctor Strange 2, where he just, like, the whole episode's pointless because he basically ends up destroying his whole universe, but it's basically setting up to how he becomes what he does in Doctor Strange 2, if that's even the same version. I mean, it seems like it, but yeah. I mean, this show, it has its good moments and bad moments, but at the end of the day, it's just average, basically. Would I rewatch it? Not fully. Probably like two or three episodes, maybe 4, if I can remember some of the ones I actually enjoyed. But other than that, it's pretty average. Miss Marvel, I can't really talk about this because I haven't watched it. I don't think I was in the mood to watch a show like this, and from what I've seen from videos, I think it would be okay if I actually watched it, so I might actually give it an average when I actually fully watch it. It might be an okay show. It just wasn't the kind of thing I wanted to watch at the time when Marvel was just making a lot of flops and just it was going downhill at that point. But it seems like it would be an okay show when I actually sit down and fully watch it from what I've seen. Yeah. And that's really all I can say because I haven't fully watched it. As for Hawkeye, I enjoyed the show up until episode 6 because, man, I was really enjoying this show and its episodes. The setup for Echo, the character development for, between Hawkeye and Hawkgirl, possibly teasing Wilson Fisk's return, but then we find out it's like a completely different version, a PG version. Ugh. Just everything up until episode 6 was great, in my opinion, and that's the trend of Phase 4. Like, there sometimes we'll have like a really good first and second act, but then when it gets to the third act, they completely mess up, man. Like, what happened, man? Because in Phase 3 and 2 and 1, like, the third act was always the best part of the movie, but in this phase, it's actually the worst part of the movie or TV show. Yeah. And when it comes to doing an ending, they always seem to fail. Yeah. In Phase 4. I mean, No Way Home's the only one where it doesn't fail. It's actually really satisfying. With Peter having to make himself unknown to everyone who's ever, well, to anyone that's ever cared about him. Especially, MJ, which was probably the hardest choice for him. But he still went through it, and it just showed what it shows to be Spider-Man, man. Yeah. But yeah, back to this, like. So probably, like, to me, it seems like it should have ended on episode 5, because we kind of get like a resolution with the Hawkeye and Yelena situation, because Yelena wants to get revenge on Hawkeye because he was kind of framed that it was Hawkeye who killed Black Widow, even though Hawkeye cared about her. So we get to a point where they're fighting each other, but I guess they're able to resolve it in episode 6. They don't really do. I don't think they fully resolve it in episode 5. I mean, because they do 5, but to me they could have resolved it there and just skip episode 6 because that last episode's a failure, man. Yeah, they should have saved Wilson Fisk for Echo, if that show's even going to be good, and they kind of do it where I just don't really like how flipping Hawkgirl defeated Wilson Fisk, and in this version he's supposed to be like more like the comic version where he's actually powerful. He can take a lot of blows. Compared to the one in Daredevil, which I prefer, even though he isn't as strong. But yeah, I just don't really like what they do with Wilson Fisk. Just the whole ending in general, I didn't like it. So, I mean, up until then it was great, but it kind of fails at the end. So, yeah, I wouldn't rewatch this. She-Hulk, instant, the worst thing, fail. Yeah, it's the worst thing in Phase 4 and the MCU. Like, it insults the fans, it's so woke, it makes Hulk look like dog poo, just insulting men, just... why is this show even in MCU? Let alone why was it even made? I mean, I loved She-Hulk in the Incredible Hulk animated show. Like, she was such a great character, but in this, she's just like, it completely ruined her, and how she makes everything that Hulk's ever been through look like nothing compared to what she's been through just because she's a woman. But, you know, people go through a lot of things, so you can't really cancel out what he's been through just because of, you know, what women do actually go through. Like, it's just the way how they try to send, like, this kind of message. I don't like it. I could never actually fully watch an episode of this show, so I just what I did is just, like, put on an episode and skip for the things that are not interesting to me, and I just watch those scenes and then just skip the rest. Yeah. So really, I didn't really ever watch a full episode of She-Hulk. When it got to the Daredevil episode, that's probably the one that I watched most of. But when it got to the stuff I didn't like, I just skipped over. Because, you know, Daredevil, he was someone who I loved in the Marvel Netflix shows. And to think that the Marvel Netflix shows are better than just about everything in here, apart from No Way Home. Yeah. Because everything in this phase, just about everything's been a mess. Yeah, just look at all these crosses, man. If I was reviewing phase 1, 2, and 3, you'd mostly see ticks instead of crosses. Or averages, yeah. It just shows how bad phase 4's been, really. And you'll see this from most people with what they think about it. And yeah, this show was just a fail. And the ending didn't look any good as well. So Moon Knight, I tried to get into this, but it wasn't my kind of thing. It's probably not that bad, but I don't even know how to rate this because I couldn't even finish it. This is a show that I tried to watch. I watched like 2 or 3 episodes, but I found it too boring. Yeah. It wasn't hooking me, even though it was interesting. I just feel like this should have been a movie, an R-rated movie or something. Not like a PG kind of TV show. So I don't even know how to rate this. I'm just giving it a cross anyway because I didn't like it. I couldn't watch it. I mean, it's probably like some kind of kiddie short thing. So, and Werewolf by Night's not here, but I really enjoyed that. Like, that's better than just about everything in Phase 4, and that's just a short. Like the Guardians of the Galaxy special and Werewolf by Night is. It's funny that it's basically better than majority of the stuff in Phase 4, and they're just shorts. Like, they're not even like an hour long. They're like 50 to 40 minutes, and that shows how bad Phase 4's been. Where a small team can make better stuff than, you know, the team that actually make all the big stuff. Like, because they've kind of made too much in Phase 4. Like, all this crap. Why did we get all this, man? It's too much. Because back in the day, in Phase 1 to 3, we just had like 2 to 3 movies. We didn't have like an overload in just a span of flipping 2 years. Like, all this in 2 years. Like, this is like 2 phases in flipping 2 years. It's crazy, man. It's a mess. But yeah, I really enjoyed this, so that gets a great. And if Werewolf by Night was also in here, that would get a great too. Yeah, I really enjoyed them. I Am Groot. It's probably average, even though I haven't watched it. I might still watch it though, just for fun. Even though it's not going to really do much, probably. Because it's just about Kid Groot. The baby Groot, yeah. And that's my whole opinion on Phase 4. Being such a letdown, made me quit Marvel, even though sometimes I might still check out certain things. Like, when we get to Guardians of the Galaxy 3, I'm probably still going to watch that. Like, that's the only thing I'm looking forward to. But yeah. It just sucks how things kind of turned out. Yep, guess I'll end it here. Just tell me what you think down below of Phase 4. I'll see you in the next one. Peace.